So this week's episode was definitely a change of pace from what we have been getting from the series. More of a character development and what I think may be going forward with Wataru and the possibilities of him as a character and person, more or less, with decisions of making that needed to be made. So with that being said, before we delve into kind of what I really think about this episode, let's talk about the episode itself first, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. So this episode starts off pretty normal for what we've been getting, and Wataru's, working at the bookstore and, talking about when he kind of has to quit the part-time job when break is over and what he's going to do. And the bookkeeper says, he's already got some applications and one specifically in mind. And this person himself that walks in is actually somebody that Wataru knows. And that would be Mina, who is this classmate that he has that actually ironically sits pretty much next to him. And she's this shy, bookwormy type girl that necessarily doesn't have any friends per se that we know of, but she seems like a very nice gal on top of that. And of course, Wataru is kind of worried about it, and understandably so, because he doesn't want to just hand the torch to her and her not be ready for it, especially if, he's going to quit and he doesn't want to leave everybody hanging like that, which is very considerate for the character being. Now, he's talking to the bookstore owner in the back and, saying, like, what about her? And he's like, well, she's a fine young lady. She's a regular. She knows books, and she's the little cutie. So, she's going to attract customers and, knows what she's talking about, which is definitely something good to have at a job, especially, at one like a bookstore. Kind of like with like a parts store or anything like that. It's something you come to learn where things are at, how to do it. It's any job, So Mina hands in her application right away, and instantly the bookstore owner says, you're hired, you got the job. And so right off the bat, Wataru is kind of listening in because she's talking to the owner's wife, who also does like the bookkeeping and things like that we come to learn about. And she's kind of pretty much telling her, that we need to do something about your bangs. And Wataru's eavesdropping on this conversation, of course. And, he's telling her that's kind of harsh because she's going to pull out these scissors and just cut her hair right there. So Wataru breaks in and of course, she's like, oh, I'll just explain to her, what the part-time job is like. And so Wataru's trying to come in to save her because obviously she's a shy, little anxiety-filled girl. Which we'll delve into at the end of this episode, why she's so, not necessarily the way she is, but definitely a factor to the way she is. But we find out she pins her bangs to the side, and she has this little adorable, cute face and these big green eyes, and she's just the cutest little thing. And so the shop owner's wife says, that's fine, we'll go with that. Perfect, we don't need to cut your bangs. So Wataru is relieved, and I bet she is extremely relieved as well. So Wataru's talking to her, trying to train her in and everything. And, of course, her replies are slow, and he's trying to get along with her because technically she's his kohai and he's her senpai, even though they're the same age. But work-wise, that's how it is. And of course, the shop owner pretty much says, as a senpai, you're going to be taking care of her. She's in your care. Please do well, and understandably, Wataru does want to take care of her and treat her well and teach her the right way, because if he's leaving, he doesn't want to leave the store owners, to be unhanded with, sadly, Mina and her unexpertised skill. But, he's trying. So he's like showing her the daily things about like seeing what's sold yesterday so they can restock it. And she's doing that. And of course she's on her tippy toes and it's not working too hot because it's the highest shelf. But he offered her, like a stepping stool per se. Because he doesn't want her to get hurt. And of course she seems sad she can't do it, by herself. But right after that, he's kind of teaching her how to use the register. And right as the moment he does that, we get this neat that comes in, right? Because as Wataru will explain it a little bit, there's tons and tons of types of customers. And she's dealing with this guy, and he's all pissy about how they don't have these books, and he's got his glasses, and he's doing the glasses pinch, and of course he's talking all weird about the sexuality of this book that this guy, that makes that they don't have, so it's a disgrace. And of course, when this happens, Wataru steps in kind of to help her out, especially since he sees that her customer service isn't exactly there yet because, well, this is her first job and she's kind of shy and nervous. So he steps in, and of course, this guy pulls out his wallet, and it's a Velcro wallet on top of it. So Wataru is like, oh my God, we're dealing with a complete NEET here. And so sadly, Mina's over there kind of sort of crying, and he tells the owner, that she encountered a idiosyncratic customer, and she's crying, and the owner's kind of freaking out, but he ends up taking her to the owner's wife because, she probably needed girl talk, and he tells the owner, he's going to kind of figure this out by the end of the day. Or not necessarily the end of the day, but he's going to figure it out and try to help her. So obviously Wataru is second guessing it, he's like, can she be trusted if I quit? And, he's telling, the owner again that it's crucial to have, skills to do with customers, and that, we need to like make sure that's a thing before I go. And of course the book owner's, saying that he's just based on that for appearance, but in reality, that it's not necessarily that. It's just the fact that he's just trying to make sure that everything's going to be good. And we know the old guy really cares about her, especially, like I said earlier, the fact that she's, a local. She comes in a lot, and she has a good attitude. It's just she doesn't know how to use it quite yet. So, he promises to the bookstore owner that he's going to try his best to talk to her and make things work. So, right after that, we run into, obviously, Mina and the shop owner's wife again, and he's talking about how, pretty much he walks in, and she's explaining to her about the mental attitude for work, and he's like, well, aren't you in the middle of books? And she says, yeah. So she leaves, and so this is when Wataru kind of, like, drills, I guess, on her, and he almost feels bad about it because he's never really had to do it before, so, like, he tells her that, you can't just deal with the customers the way you want to from the get-go, because it's something you have to work for, because you have to learn how to talk to them, and even if they're a-holes or, anything like that, they're all different. And he's like, gives an example, like, if you would have talked to like maybe a valley girl, well, he might have been intimidated, which is probably true. And he wants her to show him that she's a capable person when it comes to this kind of job. And then he says, maybe you're just not cut out for this. And he says it in almost like a way that's concerning, but, like trying not to hurt her feelings. But at the same time, she tells him straight up that she does not want to quit, even as shy as she comes off at first. And she wants to make it work, so he shouldn't fire her, especially after the first day. And he explains to her, I don't even have that responsibility. I'm a part-timer. I'm just trying to help you figure out, if this is really what you want to do, and that we should figure something out. And she's bowing to him, and he just like feels super bad about it. And you'll understand that, like, excuse me. We understand that, like, she just wants to do this job. And so while he's doing that and she's bowed over, we can hear, she's kind of a little bit of a loud voice, and they're on break while they're doing this. And so the bookshop owner opens that door, like, freaking out, and he's like, she's gonna stay on, I'm gonna teach her, and right after that, he's kind of like telling the bookstore owner that he kind of feels like a piece of shit for that. But the bookstore owner gives him a pat on the back and says, you got this, I have faith in you. You've done so... He doesn't really say this, but in the end, you can kind of tell that he has faith in him because he's done so much for the bookstore this summer. He's helped out so much that he knows that he can help her become a good employee. So we get this, like, side swap to the Morals and Discipline Committee, and we see Mr. Teddy Bear himself, whose name... I'm trying to think of his name, but I can't think of it. But he's Yu is his name, and it's Mina's brother. And we find out that he's having troubles with his sister, and that, she hasn't really talked to him much anymore. And so we see on the other end of it, this girl named Yuri, who is also in the Morals and Discipline Committee, and she's trying to be like, it'll be fine, trying to cheer him up. And then she puts her hand on his, signifying that these two are more than likely dating, which we will talk about here in a little bit, because that's going to come big into fruition at the end of this episode. So we get to Wataru at home, and we've got a group text with Aika and Kai, and those two are kind of participating in a live video, and obviously Wataru couldn't because he was working, and then he went home and napped, which is, just the normal thing to do. And so Kay and our girl Aika are sitting there talking, about how they want to get parfaits once, the last weekend here, and how they should take photos, because when school starts, it's going to be busy again, because those two have been, one's been in clubs, one's been babying your sister, and with all the homework and everything. Finally, Wataru gives a reply to the group chat that he just finished his job and he passed out. And this is when things get a little interesting, because, freaking Aika, kind of spaces out a little bit, not knowing what the heck she's talking about the moment that Wataru comes into this conversation. And so Kay's just like, yeah, I sent that, you should join us right away. And it says it got read, so that instantly freaking Aika's got this embarrassed face, and Wataru joins, right? And Aika turns instantly her camera off, which is also kind of funny, because she's rubbing lotion on her legs, and it's kind of nighttime, so they're all getting kind of ready for bed and everything. And so he joins, and he tells these two that he needs advice. And he doesn't say who it is, but he explains, how Mina's shy, and that a tragedy occurred. And of course, Aika says, you can tell us, you can tell us anything, because obviously, we all know, she has a crush. And he wonders if the girl's going to come tomorrow, and that, maybe that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't such a piece of crap. And Aika gives him a reasonable explanation. You were just trying to, light something under her to get her motivated to work. It's not necessarily your fault that happened, but maybe be a little lighter to her, you know what I'm saying? Just trying to do what a senpai should do. So, of course, Kay freaking makes up this excuse that she has to go take a bath and that she'll see you guys later. And she gets a shit-eating grin on her face because those two are finally alone and talking. And, the best friend is finally being able to help link these two together. And so, right after that, she kind of asks how everything was going, and he tells her, and she tells him that, to make sure that you listen to what this girl has to say and that you help her the best you can. And of course he agrees to that, and ends the video call legitimately the moment that Aika's actually going to turn her camera on. He leaves, and she gets so salty about it. Nice little cute pouty face. Oh my god, absolutely adorable. It kind of sucks that these two aren't really in this episode a lot, but we also need to get some of that side character development. And I also think, well, I'll tell you what I think at the end of the episode, but this little detour on the side is kind of nice, but at the same time I kind of want to get back to the main trail. But you need a little bit of that side action too, so I understand. So he gets to work the next day, and Mina's there on top of her crap. She's got her hair pinned already. She's got her freaking what's the word, apron thing on, and her training badge on. And he's like, oh, should we organize while we wait for the store to open? And yeah, so they do a little organization, and he says that, store's open, we gotta flip the sign. And she's taking initiative, and she does that, and she flips the sign open. And right off the bat, we get this first customer, and she's got this motivated look, like she is going to do this, and she's gonna nail it down. So we get a character that comes in, and he's the quiet type. And right off the bat, Wataru is like, this might be a tough one. So he, she welcomes him. She tells him how much his thing's gonna be, and he gives her, 500 yen. So he gives her the 370 and change. And right off the bat, there's only one thing left she really had to do. And Wataru offers him a book cover because he ordered a book so big. gets the book cover, and leaves pretty good. She does a great job. She closes the sale. She's doing fantastic. Like I said, almost as if like him, putting that fire under her butt worked. Like Ike has said, he's just trying to do his best, and she really took it to heart. Now, she also admits that she, went the extra mile and watched some videos to help with customer service and everything. And hey, who cares? It's working, and she's doing great. So he tries to start some small talk on their break again, and, really he's like, kind of condescending in the fact that he says that she came today, and she tells him that she wants to be independent, and she wants to lean off of her big brother. And so, he's having small talk, getting into her family, even though he doesn't really want to per se, doesn't feel right doing it or anything. This is where this direction's going. So, he's like, you have a big brother, and, she tells him he's in the Morals and Discipline Committee, and obviously there's only like one male in there, so that really narrows it down. And a lot of the girls in the committee, we've also discussed earlier, wish that there was more males other than him, because, they kind of like him but don't like him, either way. So she tells him that she loves her big brother, and she tells him that she sits on his lap and relaxes on his belly while she reads, and we get this vibe that it's almost more of a lovey than just a brother-sister love. One of those situations. And so, especially if it's just been those two for so long, it's kind of understandable, in a non-weird way. But anyways, she came home one day and she seen another pair of shoes that weren't just her brother's, and she realized that it was Yuri's from the Morals and Committee Club, the one that put their hand on his. And she didn't even knock. She just opens the door, and they're sitting there making out, I guess. And she did not like that. And that's like the end of the episode. So we find out from earlier, obviously, like I said, that the reason that she's not talking to him is she's pissed at the fact that those two are in a relationship. So obviously, from what I can tell, I think Wataru in the future here is going to step in and try to fix this situation here in the next episode. And I feel for some reason that Wataru may join the Morals and Discipline Committee. I don't know why. I just got a weird feeling that he might join that one instead of the Student Council, if he joins anything at all. But I know Wataru is going to come in and help this situation. And I feel like obviously it's more or less on her part, and that she needs to become independent. And she's also trying herself to become more independent, which is really neat. But at the same time, something's got to change there in her life, and it sucks, moving on, and just changes in life, they're hard to deal with. Overall, this was a pretty damn solid episode. Like I said, it was a different change of pace from what we have been used to, but I enjoyed it very much, and I'm really looking forward to the fact that we finally got something like this, and Wataru stepping up to plate, and becoming more responsible on top of everything else going on in his life, and that him and Aika are getting even closer, even though that time apart, I feel like, is getting them closer than what they were beforehand. So that's really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing what next week has to offer. So if you stuck around this far, thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you're feeling generous, hit that subscribe button. It helps out a lot to get to that 1K and forward from there on out. I upload 2 seasonal reviews right now as of the summer 2023 season. This series, obviously, Mushoku Tensei. Then I'm doing the podcast every Friday. This week's lined up is pretty freaking great. I have my buddy Alex on. You're going to love it. And other than that, I try to get, if I can, one of just something I've been watching or kind of want to talk about lately, and it's been busy, so I haven't really had a chance to be watching too much, but fall's almost here, so we'll get that extra video up every week. So thank you very much. This has been Squids, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.